The longhouse slumbered beneath a weight of silence and shadow, its heavy wooden beams standing against the chill of the Scandinavian pre-dawn. A thin wisp of smoke curled upward from the central hearth, its embers still glowing faintly from the night before, casting a dim orange glow over the bundled forms of sleepers who lay arranged along the walls like driftwood left by the tide. You stir, slowly. There is no clock, no soft alarm, only the faint creaking of timber, the distant call of a raven, and the gradual shifting of bodies as life begins to rustle into being. The first sensation is the cold, sharp, unforgiving, a creeping force that snakes its way through the poorly sealed wooden planks of the longhouse. Your breath rises in small white clouds, dissipating into the still, cold air. Beneath you, a thin layer of straw and sheepskins has done little to soften the floor, and your limbs ache from their restless encounter with hard-packed earth. Your blanket is woolen, coarse against your skin, and though it carries the scent of lanolin and hearth smoke, it offers scant protection from the early morning frost that lingers in the bones of the house. Around you, the household begins to wake. Groans, murmurs in Old Norse, the soft rustle of garments being pulled over chilled bodies. There is no privacy here. The longhouse is a shared space for sleeping, eating, working, and existing. Generations lie side by side, infants in cradles made of driftwood and rope, the elderly wrapped in furs by the fire, all bound by the rhythm of necessity. A young boy kicks at the embers with a charred stick, coaxing them into a renewed flame. Smoke curls lazily upward toward the smoke hole in the thatched roof, though much of it clings to the interior, blackening beams and making your eyes water. A woman, her long braid streaked with frost, ladles water into an iron pot suspended over the rekindled fire. The smell of smoke mixes with the scent of stale porridge from the night before. Rising is an act of will. Your muscles protest, your stomach growls, your fingers numb as they fumble with the simple tunic and woolen leggings folded beside your straw pallet. There is no warm bath to ease you into the day, no mirror or toothbrush, only cold water from a wooden basin and a quick splash to wake your senses. A wooden comb carved with runes rests beside it, its teeth worn and splintered from years of use. The longhouse creaks as heavy footsteps pass. One of the men, his shoulders broad from decades of labour, heads outside to the animal pens. You follow soon after, the wooden door groaning open on iron hinges as a blast of frigid air slaps your face. The world outside is pale, caught between night and dawn, with frost gilding every blade of grass and coating the wooden fence in shimmering silver. You carry 2 buckets, each hand gripping the thick wooden handles tightly as you make your way to the stream that borders the edge of the homestead. The icy water bites at your fingers as you dip the buckets beneath its surface. The cold is a living thing here, a constant presence that follows you like a shadow. The woolen layers you wear help little. Your breath turns to mist with every exhale, your cheeks redden with windburn, your toes already numb within the deerskin shoes. Back at the longhouse, the water is added to the pot above the hearth. Barley porridge is stirred with a wooden spoon, thick and lumpy, flavoured with a touch of dried berries if the stores have been kind. There is no sugar, no milk, only what the land and last season's harvest could offer. Each mouthful is chewed, slowly, and not out of pleasure, but because every bite must be respected. Hunger is a companion here, always lingering, always watching. Breakfast is eaten in silence. Conversation is brief, purposeful, discussing the day's work, the weather, the health of livestock. Children are tasked with feeding chickens and gathering eggs, while others head out to mend nets or collect firewood. Women weave or card wool, prepare herbs for salves, and keep the hearth alive. The men head toward the fields or to the blacksmith's shed, where the forge must be stoked and iron worked before the cold settles further. You are assigned to chop wood. It sounds simple enough, even familiar. But the axe is heavier than expected, the wood more knotted, your hands unused to the rhythm of the task. Blisters bloom quickly beneath your gloves. Sweat clings to your back despite the cold. No words of sympathy are given. Only a nod of acknowledgement when you finish your share, followed by more work. This is no reenactment, no costumed fantasy. Life here is labor and routine, and every day is a lesson in humility. The weight of survival is shared by all. Children carry responsibilities before they lose their baby teeth. Elders tend the fire and spin tales to keep the youngest quiet. No one is idle. To rest is to fall behind. And to fall behind is to threaten the well-being of the entire household. Evening approaches slowly, golden light filtering through low-hanging clouds, casting long shadows over the worn earth. The longhouse smells of smoke and stew, a simple mixture of roots and salted meat, bubbling slowly since midday. You eat again by the fire, seated on a low bench, your legs tired and sore. Around you, stories are exchanged in hushed voices, of Thor and his hammer, of spirits in the woods, of raids and ships and glories long past. The fire crackles, shadows dance on the walls, laughter flickers, short-lived but sincere. When it is time for sleep, you return to your straw bed, your blanket now damp with the cold that has settled into every crevice of the longhouse. You wrap yourself tightly, listening to the shifting, breathing presence of the others around you. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the wooden walls and whispering through the cracks. Inside, the hearth burns low. Tomorrow will come with its own trials, and you wonder, quietly, achingly, if you will last through another day. The morning begins before the sun dares to rise. Beneath a sky painted in slate grey, the air hangs heavy with the promise of frost and toil. As the household rouses from its slumber once more, you are already gathering the tools of the day. Iron-headed, hoes, wooden spades, and a woven basket slung across your back for carrying seed or stones. The longhouse empties gradually, as if exhaling its occupants into the pale world beyond. You follow a trail of footprints across frozen earth toward a patch of land surrounded by a simple wooden fence. This is no lush field of grain or wide open pasture. It is stubborn land, uneven, stony, and reluctant to yield its bounty. You are not a warrior today, nor a storyteller, nor a raider on the sea. Today, you are what most Viking Age people truly were, a farmer. And the land you face is not a friend. A thin crust of ice coats the soil. The ground must first be broken with iron picks and hardened, hands before any thought of planting can begin. The others work with quiet efficiency. You are slower, clumsy with your grip, still unfamiliar with the rhythm of medieval labour. Your palms are blistered from yesterday's axe, but today demands a different pain, a persistent soreness in the back, the ache in thighs bent too long, the cold that seeps up through your boots into your bones. Around you, the land is modest, and marked by centuries of effort. Stones have been cleared and piled into low walls. Furrows, shallow but precise, run in straight lines, the memory of last year's grain lingering in their pattern. The soil is not rich. It must be coaxed, bargained with through sweat and timing. You hear an elder woman explain, without turning, her head, that sowing too early means frost will steal the seeds, too late, and the sun will abandon them before harvest. In the Viking world, nature is no passive background. It is a force, willful and watchful. Crops rise only through labour and prayer. The gods, Thor for thunder and rain, Freya for fertility, are invoked not in ceremony, but in quiet moments. A murmured word as seed touches earth, a glance skyward when clouds gather on the horizon. You kneel in the dirt beside the others, your hands plunging into cold soil. Grain is distributed carefully from a leather pouch, barley mostly, as it is hardy and forgiving. Each kernel is dropped into place, pushed under with a practiced sweep of the hand. This is no mechanical planting. It is personal, deliberate. Every row, Every inch is accounted for. You understand in that moment that food here is not just sustenance, it is survival, measured in seasons and stomachs. As the sun creeps higher, its light silver and wan, your layers begin to warm against your sweat. But comfort remains elusive. A young man calls out, and you're handed a rake to cover the furrows. The soil, now loosened, clings to your fingers. Insects stir beneath the surface, fat grubs, sluggish worms, and the scent of earth fills your nostrils. It is not unpleasant, only ancient. You begin to feel the lineage of it, the continuity of toil that stretches back generations. Midday brings a pause, but not rest. You are given a chunk of dense, dark bread and a small wedge of cheese wrapped in birch bark. There is no feast, no indulgence, only what one hand can hold and the other can eat. You drink from a communal horn filled with sour whey, the taste strange and tangy, but refreshing. Conversation remains sparse. The others speak in brief exchanges, their dialect thick and worn like leather. They share news of a neighbour's child, fallen ill, of a cow that birthed twin calves, of a merchant passing through with salt and amber. These are not idle words. Every utterance carries weight, for life is both fragile and interwoven. The loss of one sheep can echo through the fortunes of a whole household. Afternoon brings fresh challenges. A low fog rolls in from the sea, cloaking the fields in damp silver. Your tunic clings to your back, and your hands are cracked with cold. Still, the work does not pause. Weeds are pulled, stones cleared, fences checked for weakness. At one point, a boy shouts from the edge of the pasture. Wolves have taken a sheep in the night. You help mend the gap in the fence, hammering wooden stakes into frozen ground as snow begins to drift in lazy, silent flakes. By the time you return to the longhouse, your legs tremble from fatigue. Inside, the hearth is ablaze, and the smell of hot broth wraps around you like a cloak. You sit near the fire, your fingers stretched toward the flame, as a bowl of thick stew is placed into your hands. Carrots, onion, and bits of smoked fish float within it, and though it is simple fare, you feel tears rise unbidden at its warmth. Around you, others eat with quiet gratitude. An old man whets his knife slowly, the metal whispering against the stone. A girl combs her little brother's hair, untangling knots with gentle patience. A woman near the fire mends a pair of woolen mittens, her needle darting in and out like a seabird in flight. Stories follow the meal. Tonight, a tale of Njord and Skadi, the sea god and the snow bride, told in low tones, words painting frost-laced fjords and lonely pine woods. You do not understand all the words, but the rhythm carries you. The voice of the storyteller, slow, steady, feels like the rocking of a boat in calm water. When it is time for bed, you curl up beside the same straw pallet, your body too tired to ache, your fingers stained with earth. The longhouse dims, embers glowing in the hearth like the eyes of ancient beasts. A soft wind howls outside, but inside you are still, held within the hush of stories and the weight of another day survived. The sighs. Soil has taken your strength but given you purpose. In this world, that is more than most could ask. The air carries a different tension today. Gone is the silence of farming fields and the humble clang of household chores. Instead, there is the sharp ring of metal upon metal, the low chanting of breath through cold lungs, and the muffled thud of footsteps across hardened ground. It is the warrior's hour. You are roused before dawn by the jarring voice of the Huskal, the household's retainer and man of arms. His commands are not shouted, but they bear the weight of command. There is no time to dress slowly or stretch your limbs against the straw. Today, you will be joining the morning drills of those who live by axe and shield. Not all Viking men were warriors, but those who were trained with grim regularity. It is not the rage of battle they rehearse. It is discipline, endurance, and control. Outside, The sky is iron grey, and the ground crunches underfoot. Your breath escapes in short clouds as you march with the others toward the training yard behind the longhouse. There, a circle has been marked in the frozen soil, its edges charred by past fires. Spears lean against posts, wooden shields are stacked beside barrels, and helmets, simple, conical, undecorated, await their wearers like quiet sentinels. The others are already stretching, grunting softly. These men are not giants of myth. They are lean, scarred, and sun-weathered, strong from labour, hardened from hunts and raids. Their tunics are padded with linen and wool. Their boots are tight, around their ankles to keep the mud at bay. There is no glamour here. A warrior's tools are simple, worn, and terribly effective. You are handed a round shield of linden wood, rimmed in iron. Its surface bears the marks of many strikes, splinters, dents, even dried blood. Its weight surprises you, not heavy, but persistent, demanding your balance. Then comes the training axe. It is blunt, of course, but still formidable. With a short haft and thick head, it was never meant to be elegant. The first lesson is posture. Shield raised, left leg forward. The Huskarl watches with narrowed eyes as you adjust. He corrects your stance not with words, but with a firm tap to the shin or shoulder. Your arms begin to tremble from the position alone, even before the first drill begins. Then footwork. You step forward, then back, side to side, never turning your back, always ready to strike or block. Mud slicks your boots. Your breath grows ragged. The others move like shadows around you, focused, relentless. One slips, and laughter erupts, not mocking, but sharp, alive. Even in training, the Norseman's joy comes from the moment of risk. Now come the shield drills. 2 lines form, facing each other. Shields are locked in a wall, and you are shoved forward into a clash of limbs and wood. Your face is inches from a stranger's shoulder, and the air is filled with the grunts of exertion, the thuds of collisions, the dull drumbeat of boots stomping as one. You are pushed, your shield rattles against your forearm, and your breath is stolen by the press of bodies. For a moment, panic threatens to rise. But then, a call to break, and the line retreats. You stagger back, heart pounding, lips chapped and dry. The Huskarl nods once. You did not fall. That is enough for now. Next comes sparring. Your opponent is younger but confident. He circles you with the ease of experience. When he strikes, it is not with brute force, but with timing. His axe, sweeping, low, testing your shield, then darting high toward your shoulder. You block barely. The force of the impact jars your bones. Your counterstrike is wild, and he laughs, tapping your leg lightly to show the opening you left. They do not mock you here. They teach by example, by endurance. You go again, and again, until your arms hang like lead, your legs ache, and your tunic clings to your sweat-soaked back. By mid-morning, the drill ends. Weapons are returned, and the Huskarl speaks at last, his voice like gravel. A blade may be sharp, but a warrior is forged by frost and fire. You nod, not just in respect, but in understanding. This is no game. War is not glory. It is exhaustion, precision, survival. As you catch your breath beside the fence, you overhear stories shared in low voices. A raid planned for summer, a neighbouring jarl gathering ships, rumours of Saxon steel and Frankish silver. These men live in 2 worlds, one of homesteads and harvests, and one of iron and ocean. When they go abroad, they become something else. Raiders, traders, explorers, exiles. But here at home, they prepare in silence, their thoughts sharpened, like their blades. You are invited to help clean the gear. Oil is rubbed into the iron to keep rust at bay. Leather is checked and replaced. Shield edges are rewrapped with rawhide. Every weapon tells a story. A chipped blade from a Baltic skirmish, a cracked haft from a scuffle with bandits, a dented helmet passed down from father to son. These are heirlooms, but not decorative ones. They are used, and they are loved. The rest of the day is spent recovering. Your hands are sore, your shoulders raw. You find yourself walking more slowly, each step careful. And yet, there is a strange exhilaration in your chest. You have seen a piece of their truth, not the sagas, but the sweat, not the triumph, but the training. That night, around the fire, the warriors sit together. One sharpens his knife with a whetstone, its rhythm steady and hypnotic. Another braids a leather cord for his scabbard. They drink weak ale and speak of shieldmaidens and slain kings, of berserkers who howl into battle and of seers who dream of ravens. The fire crackles between them, and you listen, silent, caught in the warmth of their world. You realize that strength here is not measured by conquest alone, but by preparation, loyalty, and resilience. To be a warrior is not to rage, it is to endure, to bleed, to fight, to rise again with frost in your beard and resolve in your soul. And in that moment, staring into the flickering flame, you understand. This is not a world of mercy, but it is a world of meaning. The sun has barely broken the horizon, yet the air already brims with the scent of salt, tar, and fish. You are roused not by the sound of hooves or the creak of shields, but by the steady lap of waves against a wooden hull and the cries of seabirds wheeling overhead. Today, you belong to the sea. The small harbour, nestled between jagged cliffs and outcroppings, is alive with motion. Narrow boats, nars and fairings, bob and sway, their hulls damp with morning mist. Nets lie coiled in woven baskets, and rows of wooden barrels stand ready to be filled. Here, in this salt-bitten cove, you join the ranks of those who feed the village, not with grain or game, but with the ocean's offering. Your first task is simple, and yet brutal. Haul the boat toward the tide, its ribs groan under your touch, slick with seaweed, the planks stained by years of brine and blood. The fishermen work beside you with quiet ease, their weathered hands rough as barnacles. They say little, but nod in greeting. Their clothing is layered and patched, reeking of smoke and oil, protection not just from the cold, but from the wind's bite and the sea's wrath. Once aboard, you settle onto a low bench near the centre. The vessel is narrow, its balance delicate. There are no engines, no sails today, only oars. The sea stretches ahead like a cold sheet of slate, unbroken, vast. The horizon seems to drift with each pull of the oars, a quiet rhythm that becomes your heartbeat. You row until your arms feel like they might splinter, the wooden handle digging deep into blistered palms. Then the work begins. Fishing in the Viking Age is neither tranquil nor passive. There are no reels, no lures, only thick woven nets weighted with stones cast into the depths by hand. You help unfurl one, its wet cords biting into your fingers. The water swallows it quickly. Silence follows. You wait. The sea is not gentle. The boat rocks with every wave, the salt spray stinging your eyes and soaking your tunic. The air tastes of iron and cold. A gull lands on the prow, cocks its head, then takes flight again, startled by a sudden shout. Noga! A call to pull the net. The others heave together, and you struggle to join them. The net rises, heavy and alive. Fish flash within it, silver and flailing. A cod thrashes wildly, striking your wrist. Another escapes, slipping back into the sea. But many remain. Herring, flatfish, and even a small dark lumpfish. You are handed a gutting knife. There is no time for hesitation. The work is quick, rough. The blade slides through scale and skin, opening the bellies with practiced ease. Blood and entrails spill into the bottom of the boat. You try not to gag as your fingers grow sticky and stiff. The cold numbs them eventually. You learn to work by feel. When the catch is stowed, packed with seaweed to preserve it, you return to shore. The boat groans onto the pebbled beach, and your legs tremble as you step onto land. But your labour has only shifted, not ended. The smokehouse waits. It is a squat structure, blackened by years of smoke, its roof thick with soot and moss. Inside, a low fire smoulders beneath wooden racks. You help hang the cleaned fish by their tails, looping cord through their gills. The smoke curls upward, thick and fragrant. Alder and juniper wood crackle below, their scent clinging to the meat and your clothes alike. You cough once, then adjust. There is no escaping the smoke. It becomes part of you. Next comes the salting. Barrels filled with coarse salt line the back wall. The fish are packed in tightly, layer upon layer, the salt poured liberally between them. This is what will preserve the village through the lean months. Salted cod, smoked herring, dried eel. You are warned not to waste a flake of salt. It is as precious as silver. Later, your hands raw and stiff, you are offered a reward, a small wooden bowl filled with warm fish broth. It is thick, cloudy, and smells strongly of the morning's catch. You drink it gratefully. It tastes of the sea and smoke and effort. A small piece of hard bread follows, softened in the broth before you chew. The fishermen sit around the fire near the smokehouse, trading quiet stories in their deep voices. They speak of distant fjords, of whales spotted near the northern shoals, of a boat lost last season to a sudden squall. Their tone is not fearful, it is respectful. The sea is a giver and a taker. To love it is to accept both. As twilight descends, you help repair nets by lantern light. Each knot, each weave must be precise. A single tear, missed in haste, can mean hunger in winter. A young boy, no older than 8, shows you how to check for weak strands. His fingers move deftly, quickly. He has done this his whole life. Finally, your day ends. Your back aches. Your hands are cut and caked with salt. You smell of fish and firewood and seaweed. And yet there is something deeply grounding in your exhaustion. You have labored not for glory, not for gold, but for food, for survival, for the shared life of your people. In the longhouse, the others nod as you enter, smelling your journey before you speak. They make space near the hearth. No words are needed. The smoke has marked you, and so has the sea. And as you lie down, the sound of waves still echoes in your ears. Rhythmic, eternal, a lullaby of brine and breath. The wind howls like a wolf outside, its cry echoing down the narrow valley, rattling the shutters of the longhouse with icy fingers. Winter has arrived, not merely in date, but in presence, in bite, in silence. The world beyond the timbered walls lies hidden beneath a heavy blanket of snow, white and unbroken. It is a season that does not ask for permission. It settles in, unyielding. Inside, life shrinks inward. The longhouse becomes the whole of your world. The air is thick with the scent of smoke, damp wool, and simmering stew. The hearth, which once shared its flame modestly, now burns day and night, its light flickering across the faces of those who huddle near it. The fire is no longer a comfort, it is a necessity, the thin line between survival and surrender. You awaken wrapped in furs, hare, fox, sheep. Their softness a faint protection against the frigid air that creeps in through the cracks. Your breath forms clouds, even inside. The straw mattress is stiff with cold, and your joints ache before you even rise. Movement is reluctant, slow. Every act, from rising to dressing to stepping onto the icy floor, demands effort. Outside, the world has ceased. The soil is frozen, the sea iced over near the shore. The animals, too, feel winter's clamp. The chickens fluff their feathers, their combs pale. The goats press together in the pen for warmth, their breath misting around them. You must help feed them now, for pasture is a memory, and forage lies beneath snow and ice. Barley mash and dried hay are offered in meagre handfuls, each portion calculated, each one precious. The chores of winter are different, but not lighter. Firewood must be brought in daily, and it is never enough. You carry armfuls through snowdrifts, that cling to your boots, your breath stolen by the cold. The axe, dulled by frozen knots, requires resharpening often. There is no forgiveness in the wood now. It splits only after resistance, reluctantly, sending splinters like needles. Within the longhouse, the rhythm changes. There is more stillness, but not idleness. Wool must be spun, thread dyed with old, herbs and garments sewn or repaired. You sit near the fire and help card tufts of wool, your fingers catching on the fibers. A woman shows you how to twist the strands into thread, the spindle dancing in her lap like a silent metronome. Food becomes ritual. The meals are simpler now, smaller. The smoked fish from autumn, the salted lamb, the root vegetables preserved in ash or buried deep. Turnips, carrots, onions, stored in sacks and crates, are boiled into thick, plain stews. Meat is rationed, each bite a memory of the hunt or the slaughter. There is no waste. Bones are used for broth, then carved into tools, needles, charms. Children grow quieter in winter. They sit cross-legged near the hearth, listening as the elders tell stories, some to educate, others to enchant. You hear of the great wolf Fenrir, whose breath could freeze a field, of Skadi, the goddess who hunted with bow and snowshoe. These tales are not merely entertainment, they are maps, warnings, reminders of what lives beyond the fire's glow. The cold is a presence within the longhouse. It seeps beneath doors, hides in corners. You learn to wear layers even while you sleep. You learn to keep moving, for stillness invites frostbite. You learn, too, to value heat. Not only the physical warmth of the fire, but the warmth of laughter, of shared space, of human proximity. At night, the wind claws at the walls. Snow presses against the door. Yet inside, the hearth continues to burn. You take turns tending it, rising in the deep hours to add peat or log, to stoke embers. It becomes a sacred act. Without that flame, nothing else matters. You come to understand the importance of preparation. Those who did not smoke enough, meat, who failed to salt their fish, who chopped too little wood or left cracks in their roof, those households suffer now. Their stories are whispered, not in cruelty, but in mourning. A boy who froze while gathering kindling, a grandmother whose breath stopped one night. Winter does not kill swiftly. It waits, starves, seeps, and still it comes every year. But it is not only cruel. Winter binds. You find a deeper closeness here in the dark months. People share more, food, stories, warmth, even silence. Hands work together over embroidery, over mending fishing nets, over sharpening blades dulled by months of use. Eyes meet more often. Kindnesses are remembered, and music returns. A lyre is taken down from the wall, its body carved from driftwood, its strings made of horsehair. A man plays softly while another taps a rhythm on an overturned bowl. A woman sings low and slow, her voice deep as a snow-laden forest. The song is old, wordless at times, like a lullaby learned in the womb of the world. You listen, unmoving, the firelight flickering in her eyes. There is beauty in the hardship, though it hides behind pain. You begin to feel it, not just see or hear it, but live it. The quiet strength of those who endure, the dignity of those who prepare, the courage of those who welcome winter not with complaint, but with readiness. And when you lie down again that night, the fire still glowing softly, your fur pulled tight around your chin, you do not curse the cold, you accept it. It has become your teacher. The world of the Vikings was never only what the eye could see. Beyond the fields, beyond the hearth, beyond the sea and soil, lay a realm equally real, a place of spirits, omens, and gods. You awaken one morning to find a hush over the longhouse, not of cold or hunger, but of reverence. Today, the seer will come. Word spreads quickly, though few speak above a whisper. She is known as a vulva, a woman of deep power, a walker between worlds. She does not live among the people, not entirely. She stays at the edge of settlements, where forests meet field, where smoke trails vanish into pine. She is feared as much as she is respected. To speak her name too loudly is to invite her gaze, and perhaps more. The hearth burns with a green-tinted flame today, the logs rubbed with mugwort and juniper to purify the space. The longhouse is swept from end to end. Infants are kept close. The livestock are quiet, almost unnaturally so. You are told to wash, not for cleanliness, but to show respect. This is no mere guest arriving. It is a conduit to the unseen. When she enters, silence falls like snow. She is older than you imagined. Her face weathered, her hands knotted, her eyes pale as river ice. Yet there is nothing weak about her. She moves with purpose, her cloak of woven fur trailing behind her like a second shadow, a tall staff topped with carved bone rests in her grip. Her neck is adorned with charms, bits of antler, hammered bronze, small bones bound in twine. She says nothing at first, only moves to the center of the room and sits upon a low stool of ash wood. Her presence is undeniable. Children hide behind mothers' skirts. The warriors bow their heads. The oldest woman in the household offers her a bowl of mead, and the seer accepts, sipping it slowly before speaking. Her voice is quiet and raspy, but every syllable carries weight. She begins with a chant, long, tonal, ancient. It is not a language, you know. It is older than Norse, older than memory. Her head rocks slowly, her eyes fluttering closed, and then she begins to read the runes. Each rune is drawn carefully from a small pouch of deerskin, etched stones, bones, and bits of wood. She casts them upon a cloth laid at her feet, and the pieces clatter softly, like rainfall. She leans forward, her fingers tracing lines and angles only she understands. The runes are more than symbols. They are maps of fate. You watch in silence as she reads. She speaks in riddles. A wolf stalks the edge of your land. Blood will mix with salt before the thaw. A fire will come not from flame, but from oath broken. The household listens with bated breath. Some cry, some nod. None interrupt. This is not fortune-telling as you once imagined. It is not entertainment. It is a sacred rite, a mingling of belief and bone, spirit and stone. The seer does not claim to control fate. She simply sees where others are blind. After the casting, she rests, breathing heavily. Then comes the second ritual. She is asked to speak with the spirits of the land, to bless the coming season, to ward off what she calls the dark that whispers. Her voice rises again, this time sharp and sudden. She calls upon the gods by name: Odin, wise and watching; Freya, lover of beauty and death; Loki, whose smile twists fate. Incense is burned. You smell yarrow and spruce, bitter and sweet. The smoke curls upward, and the fire flickers unnaturally. You are told not to look her in the eyes while she chants. To do so is to be seen, and being seen is not always safe. But you steal a glance. Her eyes are open now, yet unseeing. They shine with something deeper than thought. Her mouth moves quickly, her hands twitching. The shadows in the longhouse dance faster. You feel a chill that is not from winter. And then, as if struck silent by a wind only she can feel, the seer stills. She rises slowly. Her staff strikes the floor once. She utters a final blessing, or perhaps a warning, and then, without ceremony, she leaves. No one follows. The longhouse remains silent long after she is gone. You feel it, heavy in the air. Something passed through the room, something vast and ancient and watching. Later, you ask one of the older women what it means. She smiles without mirth. We see with eyes, she sees with bone. That is all, and nothing more is said. That night, the fire burns lower than usual. You lie awake, staring at the flickering light on the beams overhead. The runes remain etched in your mind, symbols not just of sounds, but of stories. Fehu, the wealth of cattle. Ansus, the breath of the gods. Algiz, the elk's protection. They feel alive now, not just letters, but keys. The Norse world is one bound by story and spell. The gods are not distant, they walk among men. Spirits inhabit tree and stone. Dreams can carry warnings. Oaths, once spoken, carry more weight than weapons. There is no difference between the sacred and the mundane. A plough and a prayer may share the same breath. And the seer, what of her? Where did she go once she passed the threshold? Back to her, lonely hall, to the edge of the woods, or somewhere deeper where night has no end. You do not know. You only know that you saw her, and that something saw you in return. Winter may bring darkness, cold, and quiet hardship. But within the depths of its grip also lies the promise of light. Tonight, that light comes not from the pale sun or the uncertain stars, but from fire, laughter, song, and the clinking of drinking horns. It is Joel, the midwinter feast. The heart of the longhouse pulses with warmth and revelry. You awaken to a difference in the air. The hearth blazes higher. The furs are shaken out and arranged with care. Soot-blackened beams are swept and scrubbed. Green boughs of pine and fir are brought in from the forest and laid across the rafters, scenting the room with their evergreen breath. Dried apples are strung in loops, joined by simple carved ornaments of wood and bone. Even in this austere world, beauty has its place. Outside, a boar is being prepared, its body scrubbed, its tusks polished, its skin scored for the fire. The scent of roasting meat will soon fill the valley. You are tasked with splitting more firewood, though today the labor carries with it anticipation rather than burden. Children scurry to and fro, cheeks flushed, eyes wide with expectation. The air crackles not with frost, but with excitement. By late afternoon, the guests begin to arrive. Not strangers, but kin and neighbors, friends from nearby steads who bring offerings, mead, dried berries, smoked trout, small wheels of cheese wrapped in cloth. They come wrapped in their warmest cloaks, some wearing brooches passed down through generations, others wearing garlands of holly or woven straw. Inside, benches are shifted, furs laid thicker. A central table, long and rough-hewn, is dressed with what finery can be found. Carved bowls, antler-handled knives, candles made from tallow and beeswax. The longhouse glows like a hearth of its own. The feast begins with silence. The oldest man in the room stands slowly and raises a drinking horn, its rim trimmed in brass, its body darkened with age. He speaks not loudly, but with reverence. I toast to the gods, first to Odin for wisdom and the spear, then to Thor for protection and strength, then to Freya for peace and the promise of spring. You raise your horn alongside them, filled with sweet mead, and drink. The honey-warm liquid runs down your throat, rich and unfamiliar. Your stomach stirs with hunger as the first platters arrive. Boiled root vegetables glazed in ash sugar, roasted lamb seasoned with salt and wild thyme, flatbreads still warm from the hearthstone. The boar, brought forth upon a wooden sled, is the crowning centerpiece. Its mouth is stuffed with herbs, its eyes replaced with smooth river stones. It is not just a meal, it is an offering. Before it is carved, a quiet chant is spoken, asking for protection through the long winter nights. The mood shifts as the hunger is sated. Voices grow louder, laughter bubbles freely. Horns are refilled and the children begin to sing simple songs, rhyming chants of trolls and talking birds, of sun-kissed hills and winter witches. Their voices echo joyfully against the timbered walls. Then come the skalds, the poets, the memory keepers. One stands by the fire, his eyes bright with mead, and begins his tale. His voice is slow, drawing you in with every pause, every inflection. He tells of Sigurd, the dragon slayer, and the cursed gold that drove kings to madness, of Brynhilda, the Valkyrie who wept fire and loved only once, of Loki's mischief at Aegir's feast, and how the gods drank till the sea itself rose in revolt. The children sit rapt, eyes wide. The old nod along, knowing each turn before it comes. You are handed a turnip carved with runes and a slit for a candle. You are told to place it by the door, to guide friendly spirits home and keep darker ones out. One woman whispers of the Yulebok, the Yule goat, who watches to see if children have helped their mothers. Another jokes about the Nisa, the red-capped house sprite who steals butter if not fed a bowl of porridge. But underneath the laughter lies something older. You feel it. These stories are not just for delight. They carry warnings, echoes, threads of memory from a world that still lingers just beyond the fire's edge. A world where the woods are never truly empty and winter has eyes. Later in the night, the dancing begins. There is no music but what the people make. Drumming hands, a bone flute, stomping feet. A line forms, hand in hand, circling the hearth, in wide loops, bodies swaying. You are pulled in without warning, stumbling at first, then laughing. The circle is not perfect, but it is alive. You dance until your breath catches, until your legs ache, until the room spins and your smile remains. You have never felt warmer. When the fire has burned low, when only embers remain, the final toast is made. This one is to the ancestors. Horns are raised not in joy, but in remembrance. Names are spoken softly. Mothers, fathers, siblings long gone. There is no mourning, only quiet honoring. Each name adds to the weight of the evening, grounding it in blood and time. Outside, snow still falls, gentle and soft. The stars flicker behind drifting clouds. But inside, the longhouse is still glowing, still full. You lie down with a full belly, warm limbs, and a heart that beats in rhythm with song and story. Tonight, the world was not a cold place. It was a circle of warmth, of memory, of celebration held deep within the dark. You drift into sleep, not with fear or fatigue, but with peace. The longhouse is quiet when you wake, but outside, the world stirs with anticipation. The snow has thinned, revealing muddy paths and frostbitten grass. It is the season of gathering, and today, the village prepares for the thing, the open air, assembly where disputes are settled, laws recited, and justice weighed like grain on a scale. Unlike the modern notion of courts behind stone walls and cloaks of bureaucracy, the thing is both ancient and raw. It is held not in a hall, but in the open, beneath the sky, upon land sanctified by tradition. Stones mark the bounds of this sacred circle, and beyond them, no sword may be drawn, no blood may spill. It is a space where even vengeance must bow to the law. You are given a clean tunic, dark blue and freshly brushed. A simple belt is knotted at your waist, and a cloak of coarse wool drapes your shoulders. Appearance matters here, not as vanity, but as respect. To stand before the assembly, unkempt, would reflect poorly not only on yourself, but on your kin. The walk to the thing takes you past other homesteads, where men and women step into the cold with the same sense of solemn duty. Some ride horses, others carry walking staffs carved with knotwork. Small groups join into larger ones, and soon the path becomes a procession. Children are not left behind. They must see the thing, for it shapes the bones of the community. At the field's edge, the crowd gathers. Merchants have set up crude stalls, offering dried herbs, combs of bone, and woven goods to those with a few coins or favours to trade. The scent of roasting meat mingles with the bite of early spring wind. But the mood is not festive. It is watchful, respectful. The thing is not a market. It is a reckoning. At the heart of the circle stands the law speaker. He is an elder man, tall and thin, with long white hair tied back in a leather thong. He wears no crown, no medallion. His authority comes not from title, but from memory. He is the living voice of the law, the keeper of the word. His role is not to rule, but to remind. The crowd falls into silence as he steps forward, arms raised, eyes closed. He begins to speak, not reading, but reciting. From memory, he chants the laws of the land. Property rules, marriage rights, the boundaries of inheritance, and the punishments for theft, for false oath, for blood spilled unlawfully. His voice is slow and unwavering, like the steady drip of water on stone. You listen transfixed. This is not abstract policy. These words are lived. Every man and woman here has felt the weight of them in some form. Law is not something distant. It walks beside you, sleeps in your home, waits at your threshold. Today, a dispute is to be settled. A quarrel over land passed down after a death. Two brothers stand across from one another, jaw set, shoulders tense. A third man, thin, hunched, with ash in his beard, acts as witness. He tells the story. The law speaker listens, then asks questions in a voice as calm as dusk. There is no gavel, no shouts of order, only silence and gravity. Eventually, the law speaker nods and recites the passage relevant to this case. He explains what must happen. The land shall be divided, but one brother must also pay vergild, a price of silver in penance for withholding rightful inheritance. No one cheers, no one protests. The decision is final. Another matter comes, a theft of tools. This time, the accused speaks first. He admits it, explaining hunger drove him. He had hoped to trade them for food. The victim listens without scorn. The law speaker considers. Restitution is ordered, but not exile. Instead, a bond is forged. The thief shall work for the man he wronged until the debt is repaid. A strange justice, perhaps, but one shaped by need and custom. The most somber case comes at midday. A man stands accused of breaking an oath of marriage, of leaving a woman pregnant and denying her before witnesses. She is there too, her hand resting protectively on her belly. Her father's face is unreadable, carved from decades of wind and disappointment. The accused tries to deflect, claims he was drunk, that he never promised. But the woman has a token, a carved bead he gave her, blessed in the hand-fasting ceremony 6 moons past. The law speaker's voice grows stern. Oaths are the mortar of society. To break one is to crack the wall. The judgment is severe, a fine of livestock and land, and the man must take responsibility for the child, though he may not return to the woman's hearth. The community will ensure it. You feel the shift in the air, not vengeance, but restoration. The goal is not punishment, but repair. This is the Viking way, fierce honor, tempered by the needs of the whole. After the formal cases, the law speaker invites any free person to speak. Some rise to share disputes minor in scale, boundary lines, damaged fences, insults in the mead hall. Others ask for blessings, for the thing to witness new oaths of loyalty or trade. It is not all grave. There is room here for the ordinary lives of people. Then, as the sun dips low, the assembly closes. The law speaker bows his head and says no more. The people begin to disperse, not in haste, but in quiet relief. The weight of justice has passed, for now. As you walk back to the village, you understand the power of the thing. It is not law imposed from above, but born from within, from shared memory, from honor, from necessity. There is no illusion of perfection, but there is respect. Justice here is not swift nor cruel. It is deliberate, spoken aloud, shaped by history and witnessed by all. You return to the longhouse in fading light. The fire is low, the smell of stew returning. And tonight, you eat with a clearer understanding of what holds this world together. Not just axes and oaths, but words. ancient, remembered, spoken in the round. The air is thick with smoke and the smell of burning peat when you wake. But this is no hearthfire scent. It is sharper, richer, laced with oil and ash. It clings to the skin, to the throat, to the hair. Today, you are to step into the forge, the very heart of a craft that shapes the bones of Viking life. Blacksmithing. The longhouse is quieter this morning. Many have gone to fish or tend the sheep, but you are guided to a smaller outbuilding at the edge of the stead. Built of stone and timber, with a roof low and sloped to trap heat, the smith's hall glows even before you enter. Its single opening serves both as a door and chimney, from which smoke pours like breath from a beast. Inside, the world shifts. It is hotter than you imagined, thick with heat that clings like wet cloth. The forge glows in one corner, a deep, orange maw of coals fed by bellows worked rhythmically by a young apprentice. Sparks leap with each gust, and above, long iron tongs dangle like skeletal fingers. On benches and shelves lie tools of all sorts, hammers of various shapes, files, punches, twisted bits of iron and bronze. It smells of life and of labour. The smith greets you with a nod. He is older, broad in chest and shoulder, with blackened fingers and a leather apron tied tightly over his tunic. His arms are layered with burns and calluses, his beard singed at the ends. He does not speak much, but what he says carries weight, like the iron he bends. You are not given a weapon, not yet. First, you learn to listen to the fire. He shows you how to watch the coals, to judge their readiness by colour. Dull red is too cool, bright orange just right, white too hot. You work the bellows slowly, rhythmically, the wooden handles creaking under your grip. The coals crackle, shift, come alive. You realize that blacksmithing begins not with iron, but with breath and flame. Then, he places a bar of raw iron into the forge. It disappears into the coals, slowly becoming part of the light. When it glows, he removes it with long tongs, places it on the anvil and strikes. The sound is like thunder in miniature, sharp, rhythmic, pure. The iron flattens, stretches. He turns it, strikes again. Each blow is purposeful. The metal sings, and beneath the hammer's beat is the whisper of transformation. You take your turn. Your hands are clumsy at first. The hammer feels too heavy. The iron cools too quickly. But with guidance, you find a rhythm. Strike, turn, strike. Sparks fly. Your arms tremble. Your forehead drips. But you do not stop. This is not merely work. It is a rite. As the day passes, the smith allows you to help with a small blade. Not a sword, but a seax. A simple utility knife, worn by every man and woman. Its form is humble, but it demands respect. You help shape the tang, then the edge. You quench the blade in water, steam hissing like a dying spirit. Later, you file, the edge, smoothing it into a gentle curve. The smith hands you a bone handle, carved from antler. It fits the tang snugly, and you bind it with rawhide. You do not decorate it. That will come in time, with wear and use. But when the blade is done and it rests in your hand, you feel something profound, not pride, but connection. The smith shows you other works, horseshoes, nails, hinges, a belt buckle engraved with knotwork, a spearhead etched with runes for luck, a broken sword, its tip bent, its edge dulled by a blow that may have ended a life. He tells you that every piece of iron carries memory, that no two are the same, that to forge is to remember, to reshape what was broken, to give form to the forgotten. His voice is low, but his words burn hotter than the coals. At midday, you eat beside the forge, a small meal of barley bread and smoked cheese, washed down with cool water. The apprentice tells stories of his first burn, of ruining a knife meant for his brother. The smith listens silently, but a twitch of his beard betrays a hidden smile. In the afternoon, you help craft nails for a boat. Hundreds must be made, each one hand-formed, each one vital. It is slow, repetitive work. But in it, you see the pulse of community. Every roof, every cart, every oar relies on such labor. Iron is not for war alone, it is for life. You are shown a sword, old and revered, hanging above the smith's workbench. Its hilt is worn smooth by decades of hands. Its blade bears the waves of pattern welding, lines that ripple like water. It belonged, the smith says, to a chieftain now buried beneath a cairn near the fjord. The blade was his soul, and yet here it remains. There is something sacred in this craft. The fire is not just flame, it is transformation. The hammer is not just a tool, it is will made manifest. The iron is not just ore, it is potential, bound and released with every strike. As the sun lowers, the forge is banked, the bellows stilled. The heat lingers, like the last notes of a song. Your clothes are stained with soot, your arms heavy, your fingers raw, but your heart feels strangely lifted. Before you leave, the smith hands you the sayax you helped craft. It's yours, he says. Made with your hand, shaped by our fire. You nod, holding it close. Not for defense, but as a mark of the day. You return to the longhouse in silence, the warmth of the forge still beneath your skin. The iron whispers at your hip, and as you drift into sleep, you understand. In this world, creation is not quiet, it roars. The wind carries with it the scent of salt, old wood, and distance. This morning, you are not waking within the safety of the longhouse, nor among the misty tree lines of a quiet farmstead. Today, you stand at the edge of the world, or so it seems, where land gives way to water, and water leads to every fate known to man. A longship lies before you, resting on the pebbled shore like a great sea serpent, frozen in time. Its prow curves upward, carved in the likeness of a dragon's head, weathered by spray and storm. Its hull is long, lean, and shallow, designed to slice across waves like a blade. This vessel is not a mere boat. It is a soul of the Viking world. It is freedom, danger, and identity all at once. You approach with cautious steps. The men are already loading it. Barrels of dried fish, furs bundled in seal hide, kegs of ale, and tools of trade and survival. A few shields are lashed along, the railings, their painted surfaces faded by time and tide. Each has a story. Each has known use. The captain of the ship, a seasoned man with a red beard and eyes like ice, nods toward you. No words of greeting, only a gesture. Climb aboard. You do, steadying yourself as the boat rocks slightly beneath your weight. The deck is narrow, the space minimal. There are no private quarters, no luxury. Only the sea and those who share it. You are assigned an oar, long, smooth, and worn by 100 hands. The rowlocks creak as you test the motion. It is harder than it looks. Balance is everything. Strength means little if the rhythm is wrong. You watch the others learning their flow. The signal is given, a short call, and the ship is pushed from the shore. The first pull is jarring. Your arms strain, your back tenses, but you press on. The oars dip and rise in unison, blades slicing the cold water. The land slips behind, slow at first, then faster. The longship begins to move as if alive, skimming over waves with growing speed. There is no sound but the wind, the creak of timber, the splash of water. You feel it in your bones, that strange blend of effort and motion that sailors know well. It is not sailing yet. The sail remains furled, the wind not yet favourable. For now, you row. Hours pass, muscles burn, blisters rise. The world shrinks to the pull of the oar, the stretch of the sea, the breath between strokes. You are not an individual here. You are part of the ship, a sinew in its muscle, a beat in its heart. When at last the sail is raised, it catches the wind like a living thing. It billows out, taut and proud, made from wool stitched tightly and oiled with animal fat to resist rain. The ship surges forward with new life. You rest your oar, breathless, and watch as the coast fades into a memory of green and grey. The sea is vast. It rolls beneath you in long, slow swells, endless and unknowable. Birds wheel overhead. Now and then, a fin cuts the surface, too distant to tell if it is seal or something greater. The men speak little. Sea travel demands quiet, attention. A joke might be shared, a song murmured low, but mostly there is watching. The sky darkens by midday. Clouds gather in a low bank to the west. The captain orders the sail lowered just in time. A squall hits, a sudden fury of wind and rain. The waves rise quickly. The ship pitches. You grip the railing, heart pounding. The others move as one, bailing water, adjusting the ship's balance. They shout over the wind, voices calm but firm. You help as best you can, scooping water with a wooden pail. Your cloak soaked, your eyes stinging. The storm is brief, but fierce. When it passes, the ship is still afloat, bruised but unbroken. The men give thanks to Njord, god of the sea, with quiet nods and murmured words. Salt clings to your lips. Your arms ache anew. And yet you feel something stir inside, something wild, something free. By evening you spot a rocky isle. The ship draws near, and a small cove offers shelter. You anchor there, tying the vessel with ropes wound around jutting stones. The crew prepares a fire using dry driftwood and flint. You eat a modest meal, dried fish, flatbread, and a mouthful of ale passed from a shared horn. Under the open sky, with stars blinking above and the sea murmuring softly beside you, the sailors speak more freely. They tell stories of raids and trade, of silver rings from Frankish kings, of silk from the east, and walrus ivory from the white north. One man carries a talisman carved from a sea turtle shell. Another claims to have seen the edge of the world, where the sea spills into the void. They laugh, tease, and sing, a low, ancient song that echoes across the water. You learn the rhythm, if not the words, and hum along. Your hands dry by the fire, your cloak steams, and the cold begins to lift. That night, you sleep on the deck of the ship, wrapped in your cloak, your sayaks at your side. The stars are clearer than you have ever seen. The longship creaks and rocks, gently, as if whispering tales of distant shores in your ear. You dream of waves and wind, of strange ports and horned helmets, of gods rising from the foam and ravens flying ahead. You wake before dawn to the sound of gulls and the smell of salt, and already your heart yearns to sail again. The sea has marked you, not as a master, but as one of its own. In the lands of the north, where the sea speaks in cold tongues and the forests are endless, survival depends not solely upon strength, but upon bonds, woven tighter than cloth, older than memory. This day begins with a softness not often seen in the harsh Viking world. There is no call to arms, no forge to stoke, no sail to raise. Instead, you wake to the gentle murmur of kin and the slow, purposeful hum of domestic life. The longhouse is already stirring. Though the sky remains slate grey, beyond the smoke hole within the house, the warmth of family pulses like a second hearth. A young girl stirs a pot over the embers, while her brother helps his mother feed a newborn goat brought inside during the cold night. An old woman, her back hunched and hands gnarled like old tree roots, sits by the fire, spinning flax into thread, while telling a story to a group of wide-eyed children. You are invited to sit beside her. She is the Amma, the matriarch, and though her voice is soft, her authority carries through every beam and board of the house. She speaks of a time when her own mother spun thread just like this, on the same stool, by the same hearth. In this world, the past is not gone. It lives in every custom, every ritual, every remembered name. Today, you learn about the clan. In the Viking Age, one's identity is not rooted in personal ambition or isolated achievement. Rather, it grows from the deep soil of kinship. You are not only the child of your parents, You are the descendant of forebears stretching back through generations. Their honor is your inheritance, their shame your burden. In every word and action, you carry their shadow and their name. You are shown the family's etatala, a wooden genealogy stave carved with notches and symbols. It does not look grand, but it is sacred. Each mark represents a life, a union, a passing. The oldest male of the house, the Carl, reads the lines aloud as if reciting sacred scripture. You listen, and the names fall like stones into a deep pool. Bjorna the Red, who felled 3 Frankish knights. Hilda, midwife and healer, who delivered 26 children. Thorkel, drowned on a voyage to the west, whose bones lie beneath a cairn of foreign stone. Kinship in this world is complex. It includes blood relations, of course, but also those bound by oath. Foster age is common. Children are often raised by allies to strengthen bonds between households. Such foster brothers or sisters are as dear as any sibling, sometimes more. So, when one is fostered, it is not a sign of neglect, but of trust, of placing your child's future in the hands of those you respect deeply. Later that morning, you help prepare a gift for an impending wedding. A cousin is to be wed to a woman from a neighboring farmstead. Their union will join 2 clans, settle old disputes, and perhaps share in the burden of spring's planting. The bride price has been agreed upon: 3 goats, a finely worked brooch, and a silver ring said to have belonged to a skald. You are told that a marriage here is not just a private affair. It is a pact between houses, sealed in feasting, witnessed by gods and people alike. A young boy sits beside you, braiding leather cord for the bride's belt. He tells you that his sister was sent to live with another family 2 winters ago. At first he was angry, but he has learned that her letters, etched onto thin birch bark, bring news and honor. She is treated well, he says proudly, and she will return wiser. In the afternoon, a guest arrives. He is a distant relative from another village, perhaps a second cousin by marriage, but he is greeted with joy. The Carl embraces him, offers him a horn of ale, and calls for fresh food to be brought. He carries news of a shared ancestor's passing, a woman whose sons had long quarreled. Now that she is gone, there is uncertainty. Will the land be split or contested? Will grief become bitterness? Even here, in the bonds of kinship, care must be taken to maintain harmony. You listen as they speak, not only of inheritance, but of honor. In the Viking world, honor is not an individual virtue. It belongs to the family. If one member acts shamefully, the stain does not stop at them. It spreads like spilled ink. Likewise, if a cousin wins glory, the entire clan shines brighter in the eyes of neighbors. Thus, every man and woman carries the name of their ancestors like a shield and a weight. At supper, the family gathers to share not just food, but stories. A great-aunt speaks of a long-forgotten feud, resolved when a brave woman walked alone into enemy land to offer bread and forgiveness. An uncle tells the tale of 2 brothers who argued over timber rights until one saved the other from drowning, and the dispute dissolved like mist. These are not idle tales. They are lessons. They teach that while kinship is strength, it must be tended like fire. Left to burn unchecked, it can destroy. Nurtured wisely, it warms for generations. That night, as furs are spread and the fire dims, you lie beside cousins by blood and by oath. One of them snores. Another hums a lullaby once sung by a grandmother long gone. You watch the sparks drift upward and think of how tightly woven these lives are, how each thread touches another, how no one truly stands alone. And for the first time, perhaps, you understand the ancient truth of the Viking heart, that home is not built with wood or stone, but with people. That strength is not found in the arm alone, but in the hand that holds another's. Night in the Viking Age is not merely the absence of light. It is the awakening of other things. When the sun retreats and the land lies cloaked in frost and shadow, a silence falls over the world that is not peaceful, but listening. Tonight, you will not sleep easily, for this is the time when stories breathe. The day had passed in quiet labor. Meat was smoked, wool was spun, wood was split for the hearth. But as twilight descended and the animals grew still, a shift came over the household. Doors were latched with greater care, tapers were lit sooner. A bowl of milk was placed on the threshold, not for the cat, but for something older. You asked, and the answer came in a whisper. Tonight, they ride. The Wild Hunt. No name carries more weight in the hush of a Viking winter. It is not a tale for children, though children know it well. It is a fear, old and heavy, draped in myth and sharpened by the wind that howls from the north. Some say Odin himself leads it, his 8-legged steed galloping through the sky with the dead in his wake. Others whisper of ghost warriors and witches who ride with him, eyes blazing, spears dripping with starlight. No one agrees on what the hunt is exactly, but all agree that it must not see you. You sit close to the hearth tonight, listening as the elders share their stories, not with delight, but with solemnity. A man recalls a cousin who vanished during a snowstorm, last seen walking home by moonlight. Only his boots were found, pointed uphill, as if he'd walked into the clouds. Another woman speaks of hearing hooves on her roof one Jol night, and finding all her chickens dead the next morning, eyes wide, feathers blackened. You listen, caught between disbelief and unease. In the firelight, it all feels too close, too real. The flames flicker higher as the wind outside begins to rise. Later, you step outside, curiosity outweighing caution. The snow crunches softly beneath your boots. The stars above are dim tonight, as if hiding. A low mist rolls across the field, catching on the branches like threads spun from spider silk. The forest looms, black and indifferent. Every shadow feels thicker. Every sound, an owl, a branch snapping, a sigh of wind, could be more. Then, a sudden gust, not loud, but piercing, cold enough to sting your skin. It rushes through the trees like something hunting, something vast. Your heart pounds. You remember the rules. Don't whistle. Don't speak your name aloud. Don't look up if you hear hooves in the sky. You retreat inside, the door closed swiftly behind you. Back by the hearth, you are offered a charm. A disc of bone etched with the rune. Algiers, the elk's protection. Wear it, the woman says. Just in case. You do. Its surface is rough and cool against your skin. You don't remove it. Midnight approaches. The longhouse is quiet. Even the fire burns lower, as if wary. No one speaks of it, but everyone listens. You lie awake on your straw bed, eyes fixed on the timber beams above. A dog whines once, then falls silent. Suddenly, a sound, a rushing wind, but too fast, too deliberate. Then the sharp clap of something striking the earth. Hoof, or wing, or worse. You sit up, heart racing. The others remain still, but alert. No one lights a taper. No one opens the door. The Wild Hunt does not enter homes, but it watches, and sometimes it marks. In the morning, you rise early. The storm has passed, but the snow near the edge of the forest bears strange indentations. Not prints exactly, but as if something heavy brushed against the earth without touching it fully. The elders see them and exchange glances. One draws a circle in the snow with her staff, muttering softly. There is no fear spoken, only respect. The hunt has come and gone. No one was taken. This time. Later, you are told that not all who ride in the hunt are dead. Some are lost. Warriors who vanished in distant lands, or people who broke oaths so deeply that even death would not take them. Others say seers sometimes walk the edge of that realm, returning with eyes turned pale and voices that speak truths unwanted. But the hunt is not merely danger, it is also power. Some believe that catching a glimpse, just a glimpse, of the riders means you've been chosen, that if you survive, you carry a piece of the storm with you, that your words will be heard by gods, your steps guided by fate. Others scoff, saying those who speak such things never met the hunt truly. You do not know what to believe, but you know how it felt. That stillness, that vastness, that moment when the night held its breath. You know the way the wind curved like a blade. You know the silence that followed, and the way even the fire seemed to watch. Before the day ends, you are handed a second charm, carved not from bone, but from blackened oak. A Vev rune is scratched into its surface, binding fate, warding loss. For travel, the man says, or when the sky turns strange. That night, no stories are told. No one needs reminding. The wind has settled. The air is clear, but a weight remains. You lie awake once more, not from fear, but from awe. The world is not what you thought. It is older, stranger, more watchful. Myths are not falsehoods. They are echoes, warnings, reminders. And when the next winter night comes, you will remember to leave the milk. You will remember not to whistle. You will remember to listen. For when the wild hunt rides, the world does not sleep. It holds its breath. The morning comes quietly, as it often does in the depth of winter, with snow resting heavy upon the roof and the embers of the hearth still warm beneath a layer of ash. But today, you do not follow the men to the forest, nor join the smith by his glowing forge. Instead, you remain behind, within the longhouse, and witness the quiet empire of a Viking woman. It is a mistake, you learn quickly, to think her role is lesser. Within these walls, the woman does not merely dwell, she governs. She does not raise her voice, but her word is final. She commands not with threat, but with memory and skill. The home, the food, the order of the day, all bend around her will, as naturally as branches under snow. You help her rise the children first. The smallest are wrapped in wool and handed bowls of warm milk mixed with a little honey, if such sweetness is still left in the stores. The older ones are sent to fetch wood or to help clean out the ashes beneath the cookpot. Even the toddlers have tasks. No idle hands are allowed in a house where survival depends on rhythm. Today, bread must be made. Barley flour is taken from its sack, coarsely ground, dark, and mixed with bits of chaff. You are told this year's grind is poorer than last. The stone was dull and the harvest thin. The woman, her name is Asgard, works the flour with water and a pinch of salt, forming a stiff dough. You watch as she kneads it with hands that are not soft or idle, but strong, cracked, and practiced. She shows you how to shape the loaves, flat, round, pierced with holes to let steam escape. They are laid upon a stone warmed in the fire's edge, then covered with a hot iron lid and embers heaped upon it. The longhouse fills with the smell of earth and warmth and patience. While the bread bakes, the chores multiply. A sheep's fleece must be carded, combed into softness for spinning. You sit beside her and learn the motion, back and forth, pulling gently. She works faster than you ever could, her rhythm almost hypnotic. When asked where she learned, she shrugs. From my mother, and her mother before. The answer is simple, but the skill behind it is profound. Then, she spins. The distaff is tucked beneath her arm, and the spindle twirls in her fingers, feeding from the wool like a stream flows from a mountain. Thread becomes yarn, yarn becomes cloth. Later, that cloth may become a tunic, a sail, or a wrapping for the dead. Every fibre speaks of her. Midday comes with little fanfare. The bread is eaten warm, spread with a smear of lard and dried herbs. A pot of stew simmers over the coals, bits of root vegetable, fish, and preserved cabbage. It is not a feast, but it is food. Asgard feeds her children first, then her husband, then herself. You notice she eats last, not from subservience, but from duty. She must ensure all are cared for. Her husband, a man named Eric, takes her advice without question. She keeps the keys to the food storage, the cloth chest, the silver box. She is the key holder, literally and symbolically. When he is away, on trade or raid, it is she who manages everything. She negotiates with neighbours. She counts the hens. She decides what is lent, what is kept, and what is prepared for feast or famine. In the afternoon, visitors arrive, 2 women from another farmstead carrying news and requests. One brings a bolt of wool to barter for dried fish. The other needs help tending a festering wound on her child's arm. Asgard receives them both with calm authority. A poultice is prepared from stored herbs, honey, garlic, and pine resin ground. Together, the wound is cleaned gently, wrapped tight. There is no priest here, no physician. Only the woman who remembers what was taught and adds her own wisdom with each season past. Later, you are shown the burial chest. It is not opened with drama, but with care. Within are the pieces prepared for her death: a comb of bone, an iron needle, a small brooch, a length of dyed wool. She explains that a woman should leave this world as she entered it, wrapped in what she has made, carrying what she has earned. You are quiet, humbled. For though she never drew a sword, never raided a monastery or sailed across the sea, her life is carved with equal strength. Her legacy will be measured in cloth and bread, in healthy children and warm hearths, in debts paid and favours remembered. As dusk falls, Asgard sits by the fire and sings, not for you, but for her daughter, rocking the infant upon her knee. The melody is slow and lilting, the language older than the sagas. Her voice is low, filled with the warmth of soil and the patience of rain. You close your eyes, letting the tune wrap around you like woolen cloth. The fire crackles. The longhouse breathes in peace, and you understand at last that to be a Viking woman is to be the keeper of life itself. She bears it, feeds it, teaches it, binds it in thread, and buries it when it must end. Tomorrow will bring more tasks. The smokehouse must be cleaned, the dye must be checked, a shirt must be sewn. But tonight, her song fills the space where silence once lived, and you sleep, warmed by the bread she made, the fire she stoked, and the strength she wears not on her sleeve, but in her silence. The journey begins with little more than a cart and 2 sturdy oxen. You walk alongside it, wrapped in wool and fur, your boots stiff from the cold. The path winds down from the village, past the snow-dusted fields, and into the low valley where a wide, frozen river stretches like a silver ribbon. Today, you go not to raid, nor to sow, but to trade. There is a market being held at the river's fork, where 3 villages meet. It happens only 4 times a year, at the solstices and the equinoxes, when the seasons shift and people gather to sell, barter, and witness. Unlike raids or feasts, there is little boasting at a market. Here, skill and subtlety rule. Wealth in the north wears no crown but silver rings. By mid-morning, you reach the gathering. The river's edge has been cleared of snow, beaten flat, by 100 boots. Simple wooden stalls have been erected, their posts driven deep into the earth. Pelts hang from beams, fox, wolf, ermine. Rows of pottery, hand-carved bowls, and bundles of herbs line the tables. At the centre, a roaring fire is kept burning, fed with driftwood and coal. The sound is constant, but gentle. Voices murmur in trade talk, a clipped, practical tone. You hear words in Old Norse, but also traces of Frankish, Saxon, even Slavic. A merchant from far south wears a brooch shaped like a crescent moon, Byzantine, you're told, and offers bolts of linen so fine they float in the wind. Your companions begin to unpack the cart: dried fish, carved combs, a few pairs of leather boots, and 2 iron tools, axes, and a chisel made by the smith you helped just weeks before. These are modest wares, but they are respected. In this world, every item must speak of its usefulness. You walk the market slowly, observing. A woman sharpens knives with a whetstone. A child points eagerly to a toy carved in the shape of a bear. A man in a dark cloak barters over a string of amber beads, holding each piece to the light, inspecting for cracks. You are drawn to a table where coins lie scattered. Some Viking minted, others foreign, clipped and tarnished. But the coin is not the only currency. In fact, much trade is done by weight. Silver rings, smooth, solid, and unadorned, are the preferred measure. They're worn on arms, looped onto belts, hidden beneath tunics. When a deal is made, the weight of silver is compared to the value of the item. A scale is used, balanced with tiny stones or bits of copper. Precision is sacred. You witness a deal unfold between a fur trader and a woman from the coast. He offers a bundle of thick wolf pelts. She produces a strip of silver, notched and bent. They haggle gently about the pelt's thickness, the wolf's age, the depth of color. Eventually, the deal is struck. Silver changes hands. Both parties nod. You begin to see the rhythm of it. Not rushed, but deliberate. Here, wealth is not just possession, it is trust. A man with too much flash, too much eagerness, is looked upon with suspicion. A wealthy man is quiet, measured. His value is proven by how he spends, not how he boasts. Later, a storyteller arrives. A traveling skald dressed in a patchwork of fur and linen. He sets up near the fire and offers tales in exchange for coin, food, or drink. You listen as he recounts a journey to the east, where the rivers run like oil and the cities burn incense in golden halls. Whether his tale is true or not, no one interrupts. In trade, stories have value too. Nearby, a weaponsmith from a distant village displays blades wrapped in cloth. You are drawn to them. One short sword bears wave patterns on its steel. Pattern welded, the mark of a master. You ask the price. The smith eyes you, then names a weight of silver beyond what you carry. You nod, step back. Not insulted, only respectful. He smiles. Maybe next time, he says. You pass a thrall auction. Not slaves in chains, but debt-bound workers, standing silently beside a bearded man who names their strengths. One is a cook, another a spinner. You turn away, unsettled. Yet here, this is law. A man may sell his labor or be sold for his debt, but mistreatment is scorned. A thrall may one day be free. At the end of the day, you make your own trade. A comb carved with a bear's head in exchange for a length of fine wool dyed the color of spring leaves. The merchant tests the teeth of the comb, then accepts. She hands you the wool and wishes you luck. It is not wealth, but it is gain. That night, campfires dot the edges of the market field. Meat is shared, songs are sung. No oaths are sworn today, no blades are drawn. This is the sacred peace of commerce, a truce as old as any saga. You sit beside your companions, warming your hands, and look again at the silver rings worn by many here. Small, plain, and powerful. They are not just tokens of trade, they are symbols of honor, of bonds made and debts remembered. When you return to the longhouse the next day, it is with lighter steps. Not because of what you've gained in goods, but because you've glimpsed a deeper current in Viking life. In a world shaped by axe and ocean, trade is not a distraction. It is foundation. A silver ring weighs little in the hand, but it carries the weight of worlds. The frost lingers heavy this morning, unshaken even by the sun that climbs, pale and distant, over the horizon. The longhouse is quiet, too quiet. No laughter of children, no clatter of bowls or huff of livestock. Today is not a day for life. Today is a day for death. A man has died in the night, not in battle, nor by sickness, but in sleep. An old warrior, known not for the blood he spilled, but the children he raised, the fields he tilled, and the songs he sang on long nights when the wind wept against the walls. His name was Ketil, and he had seen more winters than most remember. You did not know him well, but today you will help carry him to the next world. His body has been prepared by hands, both careful and reverent. He lies on a low bench near the hearth, wrapped in his best woolen cloak, his beard combed, eyes closed not by coins but by smooth river stones. one over each eyelid, to keep his gaze turned inward. A sayax rests beside him, not for war, but for recognition. A simple brooch clasps his collar. He smells of smoke, of pine oil, and of the earth. No one speaks loudly. The air carries not grief in its rawest form, but respect, solemn, unyielding. This is not the first death, nor the last, but each one demands remembrance. Outside, a grave mound has been chosen on a low rise overlooking the fjord. It is not the largest, nor the highest, but it holds the right view of water, of trees, of the open sky. As you help bear the wooden bier, you feel its weight not only in body, but in meaning. This man lived a full life, and the clan owes him a passage fitting of that life. The burial begins with words, not a priest's sermon, but spoken memory. The eldest daughter tells of her father's laugh, how it echoed through the field when he chased geese as a boy. A cousin recounts a battle long past, where Kettle took an arrow to the thigh and kept fighting anyway. His foster son lays a carving, near the grave, a wooden boar, Kettle's personal symbol. All listen, all remember. Then, the offerings. Into the grave go tools, bits of cloth, small tokens, a hammer from his shed, a fish hook, a tiny iron nail, perhaps for the longhouse he helped build. Each item says, he lived, he worked, he mattered. The final rite is the lighting of the funeral pyre. Not all are burned, but Kettle wished it so, and his sons honor it. The wood is stacked high. You help carry the body once more, this time onto the pyre itself. The flames begin slowly, fed by pine and pitch, and then rise in a column of heat and orange fury. The smoke curls upward, reaching toward the gods. Some believe that the dead sail to Valhalla on such flames, carried skyward to the feasting halls of Odin. Others say he will go to Hell, the quiet place beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, where the dead rest not in torment, but in stillness. A few whisper of rebirth, that the soul finds another form, another path. But all agree on this. Memory is what binds the dead to the living. As the fire burns, food is shared. It is not a feast of joy, but of gratitude. A barley loaf, baked with herbs the old man loved. Dried apples soaked in mead. A dish of honeyed roots. Every bite is remembrance. Every taste a farewell. Children are told not to fear the fire. It carries him home, one mother says. Watch and learn. And they do, eyes wide, faces lit orange by the flames, for they too will one day stand where you stand, offering, grieving, remembering. At dusk, when the fire has burned low, the ashes are gathered carefully. Some are buried beneath the mound, others are scattered in the fjord, where Kettle fished in his youth. His shield is placed beside the cairn, weathered, split, but still whole. On it, carved into the rim, are his runes. Later, you return to the longhouse. A quiet sits heavy in the beams. A place by the fire remains empty. And yet, something lingers. That night, a skald sings a quiet song. Not a battle hymn, nor a tale of gods, but a remembrance. The words speak of snow falling gently on a ploughed field, of a man who bent his back to the land and gave more than he took, of laughter, loss, and legacy. You do not understand all the words, but you feel their truth. You begin to see death differently, not as an end, but a weaving, another thread in the tapestry of the clan. The Vikings do not speak of eternal sleep or final silence. They're dead, a walk in memory, in story, in flame and bone. The body may fade, but the deeds endure. In the weeks to come, the children still mention Kettle when they play. The adults use his sayings, quote his judgments. When someone hammers a beam, they nod. He'd have done it straighter. And when the winter breaks and the fields are sown, his name is etched in the soil. He is gone. And yet, not. You tie a small piece of charred wood from his pyre to your belt. a token, not of mourning, but of respect. You will carry it when you next travel, when you next sit by a fire, when you next speak the names of the honored. For in this world, to die well is to be remembered, and to be remembered is never truly to be lost. There are paths in the north that are not marked by stone or trodden by boots. They are carved instead in spirit and in memory, in the rising of smoke, in the scent of blood upon sacred soil, in the soft chant of ancient tongues whispered under breath. Today, you walk one such path, not toward conquest or harvest, but toward the realm of the gods. The sky is pale, veiled in clouds like old wool. The air carries the scent of pine and damp moss. Your feet crunch softly over frozen ground as you walk beside the Gothi, the priest of your village. He is not robed in fine linen nor adorned with gold. His tunic is simple, his cloak plain, but his presence commands silence. He carries no book. His scripture is the earth, the sun, and the memory of gods that breathe in wind and stone. Your destination is a sacred grove, a quiet place hidden deep in the woods where the trees grow thick and tall, and the light filters through as if filtered through divine breath. No temple stands here in stone. Instead, wooden posts are planted in a wide circle carved with runes. Between them, flat stones and offerings are placed. Animal bones, feathers, tiny figures of Thor's hammer, sun wheels, beads. Before you enter, the Gothi stops and raises his hand. You remove your shoes, step barefoot onto the sacred earth, cold biting into your soles. He mutters a short blessing, calling on the old gods, Odin for wisdom, Frey for growth, Frigg for protection. You follow, heart steady, unsure if belief follows, but respect certainly does. In the grove's center stands an altar, a wide stone, slick with time and weather. Today's rite is one of thanks. The winter has been cruel, but not fatal. The people live, the stores still hold, and a calf was born 2 nights past. Life clings. For this, gratitude must be given. A goat is brought, white, healthy, calm. Its breath steams into the cold air. A bowl of grain is poured on the altar, and the goat is led forward. The Gothi chants. The words are old and melodic, the sound more feeling than speech. The goat is laid down gently, stroked, calmed. Then, with a sharp blade, the throat is opened in a single clean motion. Blood pours across the altar, steaming as it touches the cold stone. It is caught in a bowl, stirred with a small branch of spruce. You do not turn away. You feel something stir, not horror, but awe. The death is not cruel. It is swift, respectful, necessary. A gift, not just a sacrifice. The Gothi dips the branch in the blood and sprinkles it across the stones, across the offerings, even lightly across those gathered. You flinch as the warm droplets touch your face. He sees you, nods and whispers, "The gods know you now." Afterward, the meat is cooked upon a fire built nearby. It will be shared. The gods are given the blood and the bones. The people eat the flesh, not gluttony, but communion. The meal is sacred. Every bite connects you to the act, to the land, to the sky. The Gothi tells stories as the meat roasts, not idle tales, but sacred ones. He speaks of Yggdrasil, the world tree, whose roots reach into all realms, Asgard, Midgard, and the dark places below. Of Odin, who gave one of his eyes for wisdom and hung from the tree for 9 days to learn the runes. Of Thor, whose hammer strikes not just foes, but the land, bringing thunder and fertile rain. Of Loki, ever-shifting, who will one day help end the world. These stories are not myths in the modern sense. They are truths wrapped in poetry, lessons in skin and bone. Every detail matters. Every name carries power. Later, the Gothi allows you to hold a talisman, An iron Thor's hammer worn smooth by decades of touch. He places it in your palm. The gods do not ask for belief, he says, only memory. Do you remember them when the storm comes, when the harvest fails, when the fire burns low? You nod. It is enough. In the village, not everyone visits the grove, but all know of it. All keep some token. A carved rune, a small statue, a bit of bone or bronze blessed by the Gothi. Even the raiders wear Thor's hammers around their necks, not as decoration, but protection. When they sail, they pray. When they fight, they call the names of gods. You learn that the gods do not live in the sky above. They are in the frost, in the beast's breath, in the flash of light across a still lake. They are not distant. They are watching, walking, sometimes whispering. That night, a fire is lit in the center of the village. It is not a hearth fire, but a blot flame, burned in thanks for the rite. People gather around. No scold tells tales tonight. Instead, all are quiet, letting the warmth and silence speak. The stars are hidden. The world feels close. You think of the blood, the chant, the fire. You think of how belief is not a banner, but a practice, not spoken loudly, but lived gently. Before you sleep, you touch your brow with a bit of ash from the ritual flame. You say nothing, but you feel something. You have walked the path of the gods, not as a follower perhaps, but as one who has witnessed. And in that witnessing, you have begun to understand. The morning begins with a sharp wind that howls across the hills like a restless voice. As the men ready their arms and polish their shields, your eyes are drawn not to them, but to a figure standing alone in the training field, lit by the pale, cold sun. She wears no jewelry, no embroidered gown, only a thick leather tunic, a round shield on her arm, and a braid that swings like a lash. She is a shield maiden, and in this world, that name is more than title. It is testament. Her name is Astrid, and her story, like many here, is carved in bone and breath, not ink. She was born to a farmer, taught to spin wool and bake bread. But when her brother fell to a rival's blade, and no other stood to take his place, she stepped forward, not out of vengeance, but duty, and she did not step back. Today, she trains not with boys, but with seasoned warriors, trading blows, parrying with precision, driving her spear with quiet wrath. She moves like the wind over water, fluid, sudden, and always watching. You are invited to join her routine. At first, you hesitate, but she nods, and that alone is command enough. She teaches not with words, but with motion. When you raise your shield too high, she taps your ribs. When your stance wavers, she sweeps your foot. It is never cruel. It is correction through shared sweat. Her voice is calm, her patience deep. A shield is not a wall, she says. It is a promise. You hold it not for yourself, but for the one beside you. Later she tells you that the shieldmaidens are not myths. They are not queens in stories or exceptions to the rule. They are women who choose the path of battle and are chosen in return. Not many walk it, but those who do are remembered. In her village, Astrid says, every girl learns to wield a staff. Some stop there, others continue. But those who take up the axe or sword are tested, not only in strength, but in resolve. She speaks of Freydis, sister to Leif Erikson, who fought with bare breasts and a broken blade. Of Lagertha, who rode at the front of her line. Of countless unnamed daughters who fell with spears in hand and their names spoken in last breath. You ask if the gods see her differently. She shrugs. Odin favors the brave. Freya rides with the fallen. What more do I need? That afternoon, she invites you to watch a holmgang, a duel. Two men quarrel over land rights, and the law permits this trial by combat. The stakes are clear, honor and land. A line is drawn. Each warrior takes position, and Astrid watches not. as a bystander, but as a judge. Her eyes measure footwork, feints, and fear. When one man yields, she nods once, then speaks to the crowd. Let this matter rest. The blood is answered. They listen. She is not only fighter, but figure of justice. Her words are carried, her wisdom heard. In a world often cruel to the weak, her presence bends the path. Later she sharpens her sword, long, slightly curved, with runes etched along the fuller. The grip is wrapped in seal leather, and the guard bears the scars of old encounters. She does not name the blade. It is not a pet, she says. It is a part of me. In the longhouse that night, the men drink heavily. Stories are told, songs sung. Astrid sits apart, oiling her armor. A child crawls into her lap. She does not push him away. She tells him a tale, softly, in a voice you almost don't hear. A story of a wolf who guarded the moon, who howled only to remind it not to fall. You realize then that her strength is not just in arms, but in balance. She is not hardened into stone. She is tempered like steel, shaped by fire, cooled in wisdom. You ask if she fears death. She smiles. No, but I fear being forgotten. Then, more quietly, that is why we fight, to leave something, a mark, a memory. Before sleep, she binds her hair in knots, each one a sign. For victory, for safety, for speed. She hangs her shield above her bed, its inside carved with small symbols. Her family's crest, a small raven, the rune Tiwaz, the god of justice and war. She does not pray loudly, but she closes her eyes with purpose. You find yourself changed, not just in how you see her, but how you see the world she belongs to. This is not a land divided into male and female. It is divided by courage, by will. The path of the shieldmaiden is narrow, harsh, but it is hers, and she walks it with pride. In the morning, she is gone before you wake, off to train, or to scout, or simply to stand on a hill and see the wind. And as you rise, you feel it too. That wind. It carries not just cold, but song. Not just memory, but promise. Astrid will not be forgotten, nor will the path she walks. The sun rises today with a strange softness, as though unsure of its place. The wind carries not the call of the horn or the hum of the loom, but the low tolling of a bell, a sound foreign to these lands, yet growing ever more familiar. You walk, with the others, to the village edge, where a small wooden chapel now stands. Built recently by foreign hands and curious hearts, it rests humbly, without grandeur, but with intention. Its cross rises beside the carved pillar of Thor, a quiet neighbor, not yet a rival. A priest waits near the door, dressed in robes of unadorned linen. His beard is trimmed. His eyes are kind, if cautious. He speaks the tongue of the north, though with a southern lilt. You watch as a family approaches him, offering not sacrifice, but listening. This is the new voice in the north, the voice of Christ. Not long ago, his name would have stirred suspicion, even hostility. But now, merchants speak of the white Christ, freely. Kings in the south speak his words. Some Viking jarls return from raids with crosses around their necks, not looted, but chosen. Still, the land does not change quickly, and here, in this village, belief moves slowly, like frost melting from a buried stone. You attend the gathering at the chapel, not from faith, but from curiosity. Inside, the walls are lined with carvings, not dragons and runes, but images of saints, their hands raised in peace, not war. A simple wooden cross hangs above a rough altar. No fire, no blood, only silence. The priest speaks softly of love and sacrifice, of a man nailed to a tree, not for glory, but for others. He tells of sin and salvation, of a kingdom beyond death, not of feast halls and fallen warriors, but of peace and eternal rest. Some listen with furrowed brows, others nod, familiar already with the tale. A few shift uncomfortably, the absence of drums and mead making the ritual feel thin, but no one scoffs, no one mocks. For in this world, even the old gods whisper of change. After the gathering, you speak with the priest. He tells you his name is Father Eldred, and he came from a land across the sea. Once raided, now curious. He does not condemn your gods. He only speaks of his own. Yours teach courage, he says. Mine teaches mercy. Perhaps there is room for both. You ask if he fears Odin. He shakes his head. No, but I respect him. Every god is born of a people's need, and every people finds their own sky. Later that evening, you return to the longhouse, where debate has already begun. Around the hearth, voices rise, not in anger, but in thought. One elder shakes his head. No meat, no mead, no offering? What is this but weakness? A younger man replies. He speaks of peace and of another life. Do our gods offer that? Someone else mutters. They offer strength. They offer memory. They offer the sea and sword. Why change now? Astrid is there, her shield resting beside her. She does not speak until asked. We are Vikings, she says simply. We take what we need. If the cross brings peace to the hearth, let it hang. If it threatens our memory, let it fall. There is wisdom in her balance. In the days that follow, you see both faiths walk side by side. A woman blesses her child with a cross around her neck, then lights a candle beside Thor's hammer. A man marks his ship with runes, but prays to Mary before setting sail. No one sees contradiction, only layers. One night, the sky splits with thunder. A tree is struck, fire licking its branches. The old say it is Thor, reminding the land of his strength. The priest, watching quietly, says, perhaps, or perhaps it is simply the sky. You realize then that belief, like water, takes the shape of its vessel, and here the vessel is deep and old. Some jarls convert entirely, urged by kings, by trade, by promise of order. Others refuse, clinging to the blood oath gods. Most walk the middle path, accepting the new words while keeping the old songs. The sagas change, subtly. A story ends with, by God's will, where once it ended with by Odin's favor. You begin to understand that this is not a battle of faiths, but a slow turning, like winter giving way to spring, not in a single day, but breath by breath. At the next feast, a skald tells a tale of Balder, the shining god who dies and returns. The priest listens, then replies with his own story. Of a son who died and rose, the room grows quiet. No one laughs, no one mocks, only silence and thought. That night, as you lie beneath the carved beams of the longhouse, you see the cross and the hammer hanging side by side, each a symbol, each a story, each a path. And you realize, in the Viking world, even gods must make room for one another. The snow fell differently that year, not in drifting flurries or soft blankets, but in heavy, endless sheets that buried roads, sealed doors, and silenced birdsong. It was a long winter, one the old men swore rivaled the Fimbulvetter, the legendary winter that would precede the world's end. No one dared say the word aloud, but all felt it in their bones. You wake to the sound of ice creaking beneath the roof and the wind pressing against the timbers like some ancient beast. Your breath rises in the cold air, even within the longhouse. The hearth has burned low and the embers glow weakly like fading stars. Outside, the world is white and still. The fields have disappeared beneath drifts taller than a man. The animals crowd together in the barn, their breath fogging in clouds. A sheep lies still in the corner, its wool stiff, its eyes glazed. One more loss among many. Inside, the mood is quiet, but tense. Rations have grown lean. The stores, once full of dried fish, salted meat, and root vegetables, have been picked clean. You count every barley grain, every piece of hard cheese. Meals are smaller, words fewer. Even the children speak in whispers. This is when the Viking, World is tested, not in battle, not at sea, but here, in the grip of the season that shows no mercy. The Amma sits near the fire, wrapped in every fur the house owns. She coughs softly, her hands never still. She spins wool, not for beauty, but for mending, thread for torn cloaks, patches for socks. She hums a song under her breath, one you recognize from early days, a lullaby of warmth and growing things, now made bitter by cold. You are sent to help gather firewood. There is little left. You walk deep into the forest, breaking fallen branches, scavenging even frozen roots. Your fingers sting, then go numb. You work quickly, not from haste, but survival. Returning with an armful of pine and birch, you are thanked not with words but with space near the fire. That night, the wind howls like a wolf without name. You do not sleep, only drift, half dreaming of green fields and sunlight, of waves lapping against a ship's hull, of laughter that once filled this house. The next day, the Gothi leads a quiet ritual, not of feasting or offering, but of endurance. He burns juniper in the hearth, murmuring blessings to Freya, god of growth. Hold the seed, he says, even in snow. No goat is sacrificed. There is none to give. Only words remain, but words have power. The Skald speaks of another winter, long ago, when the sea froze and a woman walked across it to bring salt to her village. He tells of her strength, her stubbornness, how she laughed even as her fingers blackened with frostbite. The gods love those who do not surrender, he says. The fire flickers brighter as he speaks. On the 5th night of this longest cold, the young blacksmith's wife gives birth. No midwife is summoned, the snow will not allow it. The women gather quietly, guiding, comforting. You boil water, fetch cloth, hold the child when it first cries. Its voice cuts the cold like a blade. A boy, strong-lunged and red-faced. He is named Jorund, the Steadfast. A name for a survivor. His birth brings something strange, hope. The next day, the wind stills, and for the first time in weeks, a pale sun pierces the clouds. The light is weak, but golden. The snow sparkles. Children are allowed outside. They do not build snowmen as you once did. They build cairns, stacked stones for the dead and for the days lost, but they smile as they do. That evening, a deer is spotted near the tree line, thin, wild-eyed, but real. A small group goes after it, Astrid among them. They return hours later, triumphant, dragging the carcass through the snow like a king's treasure. There is no cheering, only grateful silence. The meat is cooked with the last of the onions. Everyone gets a portion, even the smallest child. You have never tasted anything so rich. The fire blazes again, and the longhouse breathes. Later, someone strings a lyre. The sound is tentative at first, then surer. The melody is not joyful, but steady. It rises like smoke, filling the spaces grief left behind. One by one, voices join in. They do not sing of spring, they sing of strength, of roots that sleep deep beneath frozen soil, of the gods who watch, of ships that will sail again. You realize that this might be what the Viking world was built for. Not for raiding, not for gold, not even for conquest, but for moments like this, for enduring, for holding fast when the world closes in. By the end of the week, the snow begins to melt, the roads reappear, the river begins to groan and shift beneath its icy shell. A raven circles the sky, black against the white, a messenger of change. People begin to speak again. Plans are made, for sowing, for travel, for mending the barn. The longhouse repairs its own rhythm. You carve a mark into the doorpost, not a rune for war or wealth, but for survival, for returning, For the rest of your days, you will remember this winter, not as a time of darkness, but as proof of light. The sky is wide and clean today, brushed with streaks of cloud like a saga half-written. The wind that once screamed down from the mountains now drifts softly through the budding trees, its tone gentle, almost nostalgic. The land breathes again, and with it, you breathe differently too, not as one newly arrived, but as one who has lived. You stand at the edge of the fjord where so many stories began. The waters are still, but not empty. They shimmer like memory. You gaze across their surface, past the fishing boats returning, with their modest catch, past the last remaining ice clinging stubbornly to the shoreline, and into something deeper. You came here from a distant time, a distant world. You thought you understood the Vikings. You thought they were horn-helmed raiders, roaring across seas with fire and steel. And yet, what you found here was something older, something stronger. You found a world made not only of battle cries and salt, but of bread and breath, of soil and silence. A world held together by kin, by craft, by rituals whispered into smoke. You found the soul beneath the sword. The longhouse, once so alien, has become a second skin. Its smoky beams, the warmth of the central hearth, the laughter tucked between its timbers, they have shaped your days, your thoughts, your sleep. The faces around its fire are no longer strangers. They are voices you will carry long after this story ends. You think of Asgerd, the quiet ruler of her household, her strength stitched into every seam and stirred into every pot. You think of Astrid, with her blade and her judgment, her silence and her song. You remember the blacksmith's fire, the seer's eyes, the sound of runes falling onto cloth like dice cast into fate. You remember the chill of that endless winter and the boy who was born into its stillness. You remember the man who passed away beside the fire and how his memory was honored with song, not sorrow. You remember the cross beside the hammer, the prayers spoken by the Gothi, and the whispered Amen from a foreign priest who bowed to peace, not conquest. All of it, every moment, has settled into your bones. Now, as spring awakens the fjord and the world begins to stir towards sowing and travel and trade, you sense the turn of time. It is not sadness that fills you. It is fullness. The Vikings are not gone. Yes, their longships no longer haunt the coasts. Their language no longer echoes in markets of stone. Their gods have been folded into myth, their rites buried under newer faiths. But they live. They live in every act of endurance, in every household that sings through scarcity, in every parent who wakes before light to prepare for another uncertain day, in every community that gathers not in wealth, but in warmth. They live in the way we remember, the way we tell stories, the way we carve meaning into wood, stone, screen, and soul. The Viking soul is not a costume or a coin in a museum. It is a rhythm, a way of seeing the world, not as a battlefield, but as something to be shaped, weathered, and honored. It is in the hands that work without praise, in the feet that walk further when frost bites, in the fire lit not to boast, but to survive. It is in the choice to stand, not because one will win, but because one must. And that is the truth at the heart of it all. The Vikings did not believe in safety. They believed in living boldly, fully, as if the day were the only one granted. And they prepared for death not with fear, but with readiness. You have seen this world. You have walked in its footsteps. You have bent your back beside them, broken bread with them, stood silently at the edge of the wild with them. You will never be one of them. But now you understand why you wouldn't last a day in their world. Not because you are weak, but because their strength was not forged in fantasy. It was born of necessity, of connection, of quiet, steadfast courage. As you turn from the fjord and begin the slow walk back to the longhouse, you carry no sword, no shield, only memory. The Skald will not write your name in the sagas. But that does not matter. You will remember, and that is enough. You reach the doorway. The Amma smiles as you pass. Astrid meets your gaze and nods. The fire inside crackles. A child, and laughs somewhere. The wind lifts the edge of your cloak, and you pause, just once, to look back at the water. Then you step inside. And the story, your story, continues.